Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the ProPower Hour Payroll as a Profit Centre edition. My name's Grant Chapman. I work in the advisor marketing team, and I'm your host for today's session. It's great to have you all join us today. Before we begin, though, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, where I'm in Sydney, and to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So in today's ProPower Hour, we're going to look at how STP Phase 2 has placed new compliance burdens on small businesses and on their advisors, and how cloud-based payroll solutions made this is actually a huge opportunity for small business advisors to really open up some new revenue streams. Before we get into it, a little bit about us. I'm sure everyone on the call today is aware of Intuit's flagship product, QuickBooks Online, given that it's trusted by more than 7 million QuickBooks customers and supported by more than 300,000 accountants and bookkeepers all around the world. And I hope most of you are aware of the functionality in QuickBooks Online Accountant that helps smaller accounting and bookkeeping firms to manage their clients, keep on top of their workflows, and help with tracking your time and billing. QuickBooks Online Accountant has a whole host of features to help you automate all of those manual tasks, all of those repetitive tasks, and our presenters are going to walk you through some of the features of the QuickBooks suite today. On the compliance front, you've got QuickBooks Tax, powered by Lodgit. That's an online tool that can help you manage your tax and BAS preparation and lodgement needs as well. And of course, another key part of the QuickBooks suite is QuickBooks Payroll, powered by KeyPay. And beyond just ensuring that your single-touch payroll obligations are met, QuickBooks Payroll updates and applies modern awards according to the latest Fair Work Australia conditions, meaning that it's never been easier to know that your clients are staying compliant. Before we get started, though, I'll take you through some very quick housekeeping. So today's event is being recorded, so we'll provide a copy of the recording to everyone who's registered by email. So watch out for that email in your inbox, and it'll let you review any of the content that we've shared today or share it with your other team members. If you're having any technical difficulties with not being able to see or hear the presentation, we'd suggest you restart your device, refresh your browser, or you try a different device. You can also navigate to the troubleshooting guide that's located at the bottom of the page that you're viewing, and you'll find a link there to an alternate video browser. Again, though, you will receive a copy of the recording of the session, so if anything does go a little bit wrong, while it's not as good as the real thing, you won't miss a thing. And of course, we will have a Q&A at the end of the session, so feel free to start adding your questions now. You can use the Slido box that's located at the bottom of your screen there. You might just need to scroll down a little bit. Now that the housekeeping's done, let's move on to today's session. So today you're going to hear from David Burnett. David is going to highlight how STP Phase 2 has impacted small business clients, really increasing their compliance obligations at a time when they need to remain laser focused on looking after their customers, as well as looking at how the right cloud-based payroll solution and having that in place actually means that this is a huge opportunity for advisors to work with their small business clients, save them time, and importantly, help them stay compliant. Now, David works in the advisor and ecosystem teams at Intuit, and he has more than 15 years experience in customer marketing across a wide variety of industries, including financial services, telecommunications, and insurance. We also have Loretta Finnis joining us today. Loretta is the owner and founder of Quick Business Bookkeeping Solutions. Loretta is a fellow member of the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers and a registered BAS agent. She started her career in banking before moving on to bookkeeping and was one of the first members of the QuickBooks Trainer Writer Network. Loretta was also the winner of the Intuitive Accountant's Top International Pro Advisor Award in 2021, and she has successfully built out the payroll offering side of her business and is here today to really share her experience in how she did that. And we also have Nelson Lai. Nelson is one of the assisted delivery experts here at Intuit QuickBooks and a member of our customer success team. So many of you on the webinar today will have spoken to Nelson on the phone or seen him at many of our events. And he's always solving problems for our small businesses and advisors and making sure that our users are really set up for success with QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Online Accountant. Today, Nelson's going to give you a quick update on where things stand with STP Phase 2, an update on our payroll solution powered by KeyPay. Okay, I'll be back at the end of the session for our Q&A as well. But for now, I'm going to hand over to David.
Thanks, Grant, and hello, everybody. Great to be here today. I might make myself a little bit, there we go, get myself on the centre of the screen there. Great to be here to talk about this topic, which we think will hopefully provide everybody with a bit of a thought, some inspiration as to how they can use payroll to be more profitable for their firm. Now, look, when we talk about this, there's many of you out there who could already be doing one or all of these, using payroll one or all of these ways. For those who aren't, hopefully this provides you a bit of inspiration to look into it further, and maybe we've overcome some barriers and some misconceptions you may have had about our payroll software and how it could be used. So today, look, when we talk profitability, you as an audience would know more than anybody else in the workforce what profitability means and how an organisation, how a business can be profitable. For your type of business, look, we feel it comes down to efficiency. The less time you can take for something when you're charging a fixed fee, the more profitable it will be, because you can then move on to other billable work or something else in your life that brings you enjoyment. But that's where that profitability comes. And when it comes to payroll, which many of you would know, that look, payroll has changed. And look, gone are the days where it was a very arduous manual task where you were collecting paper or Excel timesheets and manually putting all that data in. So it has changed, and we'll talk you through maybe a bit about how that has changed and where you can sort of make some more revenue from it. So today we'll go through why we think you should be rethinking this, looking at market conditions, a bit about the media's interest in the space, and then the software itself. We'll talk about finding the right solution and what you should be looking for in that payroll solution, when to transition, which I'm sure would be hotly debated amongst this group as to when is the right time. Timing is not everything, but we do have a tip there. Deciding on a fee structure, which is certainly very important. And one thing that we'll talk about is about how we believe that there are flexible revenue streams for all business models, whether you're looking to grow and be very ambitious, or whether you're quite happy with the client base you have, but would like to be more efficient or make more money for your firm. We'll talk about selling to existing clients, and then how you might look at winning new clients through some foundational marketing tools, not advertising, as I know a lot of people can be put off by that sort of term, but this is foundational marketing tools that we feel everybody should have up and running for their business. So why we believe you should be rethinking payroll. So look, first of all, we know, and Grant touched on, the introduction of STP Phases 1 and 2, we know has placed new compliance on employers. And what that has really come down to, is what it's led to, is that it's increased the Fair Work Ombudsman's ability to investigate underpayment in real time. So not having to wait till the end of the financial year or end of a quarter before digging into an organisation, but they can look at it in real time, which I think brings a bit of pressure to those small businesses. You also would have noticed, if you're opening the paper or websites and obviously accounting websites, which I'll have in a second, but there's increased media attention on when employers get it wrong. We'll remember there's 7-Eleven ended up on the front page of the papers, and there's the George Columbaris, the chef with his business. It does make big news. And I think even yesterday, we picked up an article in Accountants Daily, which many of you may have seen, about the Fair Work Ombudsman not going after the big end of town, but just picking up on some small businesses here in Queensland and fining them $40,000 for underpayment. So with that increased media attention, the appetite for employers to manage that risk themselves has really reduced. They don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. As soon as they realise the implications and how serious it is, and again, thinking about the media attention they could get into, they want to step away. And they're looking for training and providers who can take that off their chest and give them peace of mind that they don't have to manage it, and then knowing it'll be managed well. What does that all mean? Well, it means that there is increased market demand for your services and managing payroll, whether it's training or completely outsourced for those small businesses. Why else do we believe you should be considering and rethinking payroll? Well, look, as I mentioned before, it's changed. Software has come along and made it very easy and taken tasks that used to take you hours down to minutes. Automation, again, I mentioned a couple of months ago, it does sound like a very daunting word, but it's not. It's just getting things set up in the system once and then letting it do its job. It may not be as hard as you think. I know that when it comes to STP, we've had, and I'll give a story here, and this isn't a made-up Donald Trump-style story, but we have had customers come to us after a training and a webinar saying that they did have misconceptions, that they thought it was going to be too difficult for them, cloud software and STP, and were thinking about giving it up. But after training, it gave them the confidence to give it a go. So it may not be as hard as you think if you haven't dipped your toe in the water. And as I said before, what excites me about this and the conversations we've had with experts like Loretta and some other clients of ours is that there are revenue opportunities for all. And I'll go into that in more detail. So what are the steps we believe that you can take to integrating a payroll offering for your firm? The first one comes down to, let me get my slides right, comes down to finding the right solution for you. We spoke about efficiency driving profitability. So it comes down to simplicity rather. How easy is it for you to use? If it's easy for you to use, you can get the job done faster and then move on to the next task. When you're looking at payroll solutions, we know there's a lot out there. Make sure it ticks a few boxes. For us, let's make sure it's ticking STP to even now requirements and is included as part of the offering and isn't anything extra. You want to make sure, if we want to save time, that modern awards rates are included. And Grant mentioned that ours do that through the fantastic partner we have in KeyPay. What that means is you're not going to third-party websites to check that the award rate is correct. That's a big one. Does it have automated superannuation? That, again, is another time-saving tool that can really turn payroll into an arduous task into something that's quite easy. And I'll talk to you a bit about what we have to offer there. And then support. When it comes to payroll, people can't wait. It has to. If you've got a problem, it needs to be solved. People need to get paid. They've got to pay their bills. So if you've got a problem or you need to talk to someone to find a resolution, you want easy access. So that's phone support, instant chat with a real person. You don't want to be waiting, sending off an email to a queue and waiting days for it to come back, as people, as I said, need to be paid. Step 2, when to transition. This could be debated amongst the experts on the call. Is it the financial year? Is it the calendar year, end of a quarter? Well, we believe, from conversations we've had, that, it's all of the above. It's the beginning of a new quarter. A recommendation from our TWN members, such as Loretta, recommends that, use the old software to the end of the quarter, ensure that your BAS and super is complete, and then look to move over. Obviously, you don't want to wait. If you've got a new client who's come along and asked you to take on their payroll, you don't want to wait for the calendar year or financial year to come, as it could be too far. But end of the quarter and beginning of the quarter is a good time to do it. Make sure you've reconciled all their bank accounts and reviewed their balance sheet for any inconsistencies, and then start that quarter nice and fresh on the new system. In terms of setting up a fee structure, and this is where we'll talk in detail about that revenue stream for all business models. So let me put at one end of the spectrum, one business model where you've got an accounting or bookkeeping firm who has very ambitious targets. They want to grow their customer base, grow their revenue base, and that may mean bringing on more staff, and that's fine by them. They want to grow big and bold. For those organisations, taking on fully outsourced payroll could be a great option. Where you're managing weekly, fortnightly, monthly payrolls for all of your clients, and you're trying to get as many as you can. For those, in terms of fee structure that we'd recommend, if it's a standard pay run, so you might have salary employees or a consistent amount of employees and the wage that they're on every week, you can charge a fixed fee to them. If it's a client with less standardised operations, maybe project work, maybe commission-based employees where it's going to change every month and you've got to look into it, then you might look to apply an hourly charge to that one. So that's at one end of the spectrum that is probably more the heavy lift, so to say, as much as it can be quite efficient. The next one along, if you're looking to maybe not grow as much, you don't want to get to the point where you need to bring in extra people to manage it. You want to manage it yourself. You might be a sole trader or have one full-time or part-time employee. You might find there's revenue to be made in the training and onboarding because, again, now that everybody has to come over to be STP compliant, and there's a lot of accounting software who have been deferring that STP for some time. So all of those small businesses out there have been deferring. There's opportunity for you to push your services like onboarding, taking that pressure off, saying we can get you set up in QuickBooks nice and easy to get them set up if they want to run it themselves. For them, if you've got an organisation where maybe it's under 5 employees, you might have a fixed fee for them. And then if it gets a little bit more complicated, similar to what we spoke about before with project work or different types of employees, then you might move to a quote system based on the individual employer. Then lastly, one service that you could look to offer is rescue work, where now that, as we know, it's not just about what you've done in the last year. It could go back multiple years, multiple financial years from a pay run point of view. You might have an organisation who is, in a small business rather, who is looking for an accountant or a bookkeeper to help them clean up previous years' inconsistencies or clean things up before they jump onto STP. So they're looking for something you might call rescue work. There, depending on what the level of complexity, you might put together a quote that's based on an hourly rate. So that's sort of a recommendation on a fee structure and what you can do there to get set up. Next, what we recommend in terms of how to sell this into your existing client base. And look, this is fairly logical. First off, it starts with notifying them. Now, you can do this in a multitude of ways. Whether you've got an email platform that you can send out mass emails to, or just creating one and sending it to all your clients, that's the first easy way to do it, send it out to them. Make sure you update your website, add it to the service line. If you've got a more modern website, you might have a rotating carousel at the front, add a little banner there that says we now offer payroll services, and have a link to a page where you've got that information displayed. If you've got a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page, create a social post and let them know that, again, this is something that you're offering, and then they can get in contact for more details. And then lastly, if you've got something like a business account on Google or other pages, make sure you update them to include this as a service offering. So anybody who's looking for you knows that you have it. The next thing we'd recommend you do is educate your small businesses on the compliance requirements of the ATO now. Some of them who may have been not paying attention or not seeing this sort of come through from the ATO may not know or understand STP and what it involves for them. They may not know the implications of non-compliance, and it's very important to educate them that when we talk non-compliance, it doesn't have to be intentional. A lot of businesses are getting in trouble not because they're intentionally underpaying, because they're missing something unintentionally. And that's, from the ATO point of view, well, that's no excuse, so to say. So once you've educated them, try and get an understanding of what they're currently doing. Could they be underpaying or leaving something out? We've heard from other accountants that on picking up a client that they thought they were doing the right thing, paying them an hourly rate, but they weren't including leave loading. That wasn't intentional, but still underpaying them. So make sure they're not leaving anything out. Could they be overpaying out of fear of underpaying? We have heard, again, stories of small businesses who know that they've got to get the award rate right, but are a bit fearful and throw on whether it's $1 or 50 cents per hour per employee. Now, you guys could run the numbers. That could very quickly turn into thousands of dollars if you've got 5-10 employees over the course of the year. So make sure they're not overpaying. How are they collecting timesheets? Try and understand what they're doing there, because you know if you've got great software, you can fix up and you can speed up the time it takes them to run their timesheets every week and then doing a successful pay run. Not too dissimilar to super. How long is it taking them to do super, and how are they doing it? Could they be on a better system by going through you and going through us? So try and learn a bit more about what's going on. Once you've educated, once you've got that understanding, well, then you put forward your proposal. Whether you're recommending and proposing that you fully take on their services and it's fully outsourced, or whether you think that, no, look, they've got a decent understanding, I can train you, onboard you, and then leave it to you to take on from there. Make sure in that proposal you're talking about the hours in a day they can get back, in a week they can get back. We all know no small business gets into it to do payroll or to do accounting. So tell them about the time they can spend back on their business and doing what they love. And then certainly ensure that you're including any potential savings. So particularly if they're overpaying, that's where you come in and say, look, I'm saving you 5 to 10 grand and my services will cost half of that for the year. Step 5, winning new clients. So we'll talk here about some ideas around foundational marketing tools that we believe every firm and practice should have. As I said before, this is not advertising. This isn't us recommending you create a video and putting it on YouTube talking about your businesses. These are just the shop front, what you should be doing on a few different channels to make sure people can find you. First and foremost, your website. Very obvious, very clear, but we know the website is your shop front. Important to know that for those, I know if we had everybody in a room here, I'd ask people to put their hand up. Who's updated their website in the last 2 years? Website technology software, similar to email marketing software, which I'll talk about in a second, has come a long way. It is actually very simple these days. There's no coding to punch in, a lot of drag and drop features that just make it very easy and can give you a really nice modern website with some modern tools, like giving viewers the opportunity to book a consultation with you, so not having to go through email. Really nice, seamless customer experience. You can include, we'll give you tips on including QuickBooks in some of your copy, talk about that you're a pro advisor, all of a sudden you'll go up in Google rankings. So that's first and foremost what you should be doing. It's also worth looking into email marketing platforms like MailChimp, which Intuit are now the owners of and a part of your pro advisor benefits, worth looking into. Again, that sort of software has come a long way recently if you haven't looked into it. Some really nice features that allow you to create a very easy email marketing, email newsletter that you can send out to your client base on a regular basis, I think every month. That could really help with word of mouth because they could forward that email on to friends or colleagues of theirs. The next one, the Google Business Profile. Easy, simple, free tool to use. Think of this as the modern day Yellow Pages, where if that's where everybody would go to find you, well, Google is now that. And it's a free tool, simply allows you to set it up. This is where my office is. This is my phone number. This is my email. Here's my website, and allows you to host some reviews from some of your very valuable and happy customers. The next one that we'd recommend is social media. And again, this is not advertising, but just setting up that foundation. Having a Facebook page, certainly the younger generation will use Facebook to search for you, to find some information. Similar to Google Business, you can have a profile on there which has your company, your business details, where to find you, phone numbers, websites, stuff like that, and allows you to post to find them if they're not checking their emails on a regular basis. LinkedIn, not too dissimilar. Having your profile on there talking about your services is a good box to tick, and a very easy one and a free one as well. The find a pro advisor directory, I should say, that we offer. This is used by over 1,000 small businesses, and a great way, again, if you've got small businesses coming on, looking for individuals and practices they can trust, this is a source they go to. So make sure you've got your details on there. The last one is reviews. So very similar to word of mouth. Word of mouth will go so far these days. If you think about it logically, if you get a recommendation from anybody, whether it's regarding a service, a restaurant, whatever it is, it's very easy for you to do your own research. And that research will be done by going to places like Google or Facebook or to your website. Now, if you don't have those updated, that word of mouth may be less successful. You want that word of mouth marketing to be hitting it 100% of the time. One thing you can do to increase word of mouth is reviews. So you set up an email in your email marketing system, send it to your happy customers after maybe the first year they've been with you, and ask them to do a review on your Google profile or Facebook profile, because that will really help that word of mouth marketing. So there's some simple tools you can do to increase your chances of picking up new customers. The great thing is, look, we have a content hub at the moment, a growth hub at the moment that will give you more information if you think, you know what, I really want to learn more about email marketing with MailChimp, or get some more information about how I can build a website. Go to this growth hub, intuit.me/growth hub, and there's some articles there about how you can go about setting that up. Okay, I'm quickly going to go through, we've spoken about profitability coming from time saving. These are some tools that you may not know about or may not know the full detail of, about how you can save time and be really profitable with payroll through QuickBooks. The first one is streamlining your super contributions with Beam. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Beam, who are Beam? A third-party brand. Beam are the experts. These guys have nailed payroll contributions through payroll, and our partners, KeyPay and us, have seen that this organisation is doing it so well. And instead of trying to create our own system to do this and compete with these guys, we're partnering with them because they do it so well, and we recognise that. This system is designed to manage payroll contributions within the platform. So they are a clearinghouse. You can do it within them. So you don't have to go across to the ATO clearinghouse every quarter, manually punch in the details of the 10 employees, 5 employees, what's their number, the hours that could take. Because all that information sits in your payroll solution, it's brought across every quarter, every time you're processing your super, and it's really taking time that used to take an hour down to minutes. So a fantastic solution there. The other great thing about it is that the contribution data, when you're looking to process a super, is validated before it's sent. So it'll recognise if you've put something in that's an error, it'll tell you about it before it's gone out. So as opposed to maybe old ones where you would send it out with an error, you'd come back a day later with a failed attempt and you'd have to fix that up. This will tell you if there's any errors that could be picked up before. And very importantly, this integration, the registering for this and using this on a quarterly basis comes at no additional cost. So it's included as part of QuickBooks Payroll. You can go and find this quickly going through when you go into your payroll settings. It's just down there on superannuation on the business settings, as you can see highlighted on the left. So a really nice system to get in and register. As I said, you can register for free and it's all included, and it'll seamlessly pull everything through. The next one that we love is the WorkZone app. So the WorkZone app, just like Beam, is included with all of your payroll plans, whether you're on standard or advanced. And it gives employees, it's an employee self-service app. It gives them great ability to manage the simple things. So managing and viewing their pay slips, pushing leave out, the timesheets they need to start an automated pay run and getting their expenses paid, all included as part of it. Timesheets, the really nice thing about this is the timesheets will automatically, once you send to the payroll manager for approval, once that's approved, it'll then go on into an automated pay run and be processed through and then picked up in your QuickBooks Online accounting software. So really nice flow between the employee, the payroll manager, and then getting into your accounting software. The thing I love about this platform, if you think about it, how does it work for my small business? Imagine you've got a tradie, it could be a carpenter. And the great thing about this software, it allows you to clock in and clock out of different job sites and manage your expenses all in one platform. So imagine you've got a carpenter. He comes over to my house in the morning to work on my kitchen renovation, finishes at 10 a.m. and then drives to Grant's house to work on his back deck. New job, needs to be managed from the payroll manager with hours going to a different location. Before he goes on to the next job site, he's got to stop by Bunnings to pick up some tools, some material, can punch that expenses through straight away. It all flows through to the payroll manager before getting to the third job site. So a really easy way if you've got trades or other employees, it could be retail job sites, working between how to manage their day and keep track of where they're going. The last one, which we've spoken about a bit, so I'll quickly rush over it, is that pre-built awards for our advanced payroll. Advanced payroll is a best-in-market offering. Simply when you go to add a new employee with advanced payroll, you have the option to add a pre-filled award rate. So scroll through it. There are a stack of award rates in there that you can find. Simply click that on, and what you can be assured is that award rate will be updated with the Fair Work conditions, not just the race, but also any leave attached to that, overtime, shift work. So thinking about hospitality sector, where there's certainly overtime involved, they're working late. And that allows you to stay on the platform. Again, not leaving it to go to a third party to check and then come back. That's time consuming. This is best in market and you can stay on the platform to do it. The last thing I'll quickly touch on when it comes to advanced payroll is the great rostering functionality that you can do it. So staff can go on there, they can access and manage and swap shifts with other employees. Think about how much of a time saver that would be for anybody managing the roster. For if an employee can't do it, they can go to another eligible employee and say, can you take this shift? And it'll all be done and dusted without the heavy lift of someone stepping in from the head office. The really nice thing about it is that you can also get a wage overview of a period. So it might be the week. What are wages going to cost me this week? And you can see it there based on who you've got on the roster, how many hours. So you can get an idea of what you're going to be paying out through wages. You can also set a budget for that shift, for that location. So it provides great transparency for those costs coming up in a period. Great feature, definitely worth looking into if you've got clients needing that sort of system. Okay, what's next? If you're enjoying sort of this topic and thinking it's bringing some ideas about what you could bring to your firm, we have an ebook at the moment that you can download that has more information on each of these topics. It also has a great case study from Loretta about her business and how she's brought in a payroll offering. And then another client who's brought in a very ambitious payroll product and has it fully outsourced and has I think it's increased his revenue by 25% for his firm with fully outsourced payroll. So some great information in there, a nice booklet to dig into if you'd like to learn more. So what we'll go on to now is we'll talk about it. Obviously, look, we're the company, we work in marketing, we're talking about, but I know you'd like to hear from a real accountant or bookkeeper and how they're doing it for their firm. So I'll bring in Loretta now to join us in a bit of me in a Q&A. So Loretta, have I got you there?
Yes, you have. Hi, David.
Hi, Loretta. Okay, so look, why don't we talk through it. So before we go into it, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your practice, what kind of clients you have, and what kind of payroll services you offer those customers of yours?
Yeah, look, my business started back in 2002. It's really changed so much since I started originally. We were, back in those days, desktop software. And in fact, I think some were still using their old Excel spreadsheet that we had to use and then make sense of it. I grew my business to having 4 staff members on the road, where they would have to go to the office of our clients because the software was on their desktop. So you can imagine how much time was wasted there. So eventually, and back in those days, it was just bookkeeping and BAS agent services. So it was pretty a normal BAS agent bookkeeping practice that I had. Then roughly about 2013, when QuickBooks emerged here in Australia, I hopped on pretty much straight away. So I was actually looking at how can I make my business more efficient? And, I knew it wasn't efficient sending 4 girls out on the road, and then, the amount of calls between the girls and my staff member in the office, trying to organise them, trying to roster them. It was all this other admin work that we had to do behind the scenes as well. So it wasn't just sending out the girls and doing the bookkeeping work. So when QuickBooks arrived, I just went cloud. I went QuickBooks nearly 100% within about 2-3 years. All my clients moved over to QuickBooks cloud accounting software. That really transitioned my business into being able to offer them different services in a way that I could service everyone in Australia, not just my local Doncaster East, which is where I sit in Victoria. So it wasn't just my local business owners that I was actually able to help. It was Australia-wide. Then I was actually able to transition into training of QuickBooks, which is great. And all my bookkeeping clients, we had training, of course, with my bookkeeping clients, but I never charged for training back in those days because I wanted my clients to, understand QuickBooks and how easy it is to run. When I started the training, I thought, you know what, there's another niche that I can get into, and that's the QuickBooks niche, because there's not too many of us BAS agents offering this service here in Australia. And it then transitioned to be able to help the business owner support their business. So I was offering support then, training, of course, and then, of course, we started the rescue work. So you can see I was actually able to transition from a basic bookkeeping BAS agent business, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I wanted to grow more, and I wanted to offer business owners more than what I was able to do in the past with just manual bookkeeping, manual software, I should say.
Great. Great to hear that development over time. So from those times, you spoke about before cloud payroll came along. Now we have cloud payroll. For you, what's changed and what makes your life so much easier when it comes to doing what you do for your clients?
Yeah, look, payroll services certainly have changed over the years, because we went from Excel spreadsheets, manual software, where we still had to plug in the figures, like, the owners would be sending Excel spreadsheets by fax, if anyone remembers what a fax is these days, and then we'd have to still manually enter in that information into the desktop that we were using at the time. So you can see that was quite a manual, the amount of time that we wasted doing all that. Now it's pretty easy, because basically the services that I offer now is set up of payroll, where a business owner approaches me, and I do use all those marketing that you mentioned as well, David, as well as YouTube videos. They're great as well. I do a lot of YouTube videos, and that's where clients find me. So payroll services, I do payroll setup. That's really easy, guys. Have a look at that. My prices are on the website. In fact, they're going to go up slightly soon, because a business owner only knows what they know. They need that extra help from us, the experts, to be able to set up the payroll correctly. Once the payroll is set up for them, I then offer them training. So then they do training, and then some of them go off on their merry way, but most of them, I'd say 90% of them, take up my support packages that I also have on my website. So everything gets sold on my website, by the way, these days. So they take up my support packages. And then I do, actually, a funny story. Last week, I was actually on the roadshow with QuickBooks and checking my emails. There's an email come through from one of my payroll support clients, and it was payroll disaster. Help me, Loretta. So I thought, oh, my God, what has she done? So that night I got home and, it was only a few tweaks that I had to do, and she thought she had a payroll disaster on her hand. But all it was just a couple of different tweaks in the pay run for her. It was done, off it went, and she thinks I'm a great, expert in payroll. And this is what we need to offer our business clients, because, they don't know what they don't know. That's my favourite saying these days, right? So in saying that, I think, you also have the business owners that I train, and then they go, no, I can do it all myself. And then more than likely, quite a few of them come back and go, Loretta, can you just offer payroll services? Because I just don't have time to do it. I'm too busy in my business. Great, I offer payroll services as well. So that's how I do it. So from setup to training to support, it is a great new stream, income stream that I'm offering to my business clients.
Yeah, great. Loretta, we've spoken a bit about some of those tools such as WorkZone and Beam. How have you found them, particularly Beam, I suppose, from what the traditional way of processing super contributions? How have you found it when managing payroll for your clients?
Look, that's one of my selling points, I must say. So if a client comes to me and they're not quite sure, what's QuickBooks Payroll about? I'm actually looking at XYZ over here. What does QuickBooks Payroll offer me? My three favourites that I always mention, and 100%, or say 99% of the time, they go, yep, set me up. And that is, yes, Superbeam. We pay it directly through QuickBooks Online. That saves us so much time. In the old days, we'd have to manually enter in, and more than likely in those days, we used to have 5 or 6 different super providers that we had to send off the superannuation to. We'd have to complete the manual form, and then we'd have to fax it out. So you can see how long it took. And then my staff member would do it. I would check it to the report that she printed off. So you can see the time now that with a couple of clicks, it's done and off it goes. Yeah.
Great. We've spoken a bit before about the compliance side of things, and with award rates being built in. We know that with the introduction of STP Phase 1 and now Phase 2, what that's meant for employees, and that we spoke about the risk of getting it wrong. I'm keen to hear about your experiences. And we know, as I mentioned, there are some accounting firms, software providers who are deferring it. So there are a lot of small businesses out there who haven't gotten involved with STP and aren't STP compliant just yet and are waiting. What's been your experience over the last few years since 2018 when STP was brought in? Did you notice any irregularities with clients coming to you and what they were doing?
Yeah, look, it's really interesting, and I am surprised, and it's mainly the clients that come through to me, oh, Loretta, can you train me in QuickBooks? And then once I go into the payroll centre and it hasn't even been set up, I'll say, oh, do you have payroll? Oh, yeah, we've got 10 employees. I'm going, well, how do you do it? Oh, I do it on an Excel spreadsheet. But are you actually lodging STP? What's STP? So it just brings in a whole different conversation that I have to do with these clients and explain not only STP too, but what is STP and the lodgements they've actually got to produce and why they have to produce them. So then that entails me talking about my 3 favourites, which I forgot to say before, is when I set up, I talk to them about WorkZone, which covers off all the timesheets, the time that saves us alone with WorkZone instead of trying to grab the timesheets from employees. Then I talk about the pre-built awards in the QuickBooks Advanced Payroll, and then, of course, Superbeam. And then to top it all off, it just does STP2 straight away for you. So once I set it up for them, I show them my dummy example file, and I say, here you go, do click, 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 it's done. Oh, what else is there to do? Nothing. We've just finished payroll because I've set it up correctly. So you set it up correctly first time, and one of my favourite sayings is do it right first time. Set it up correctly, and you're going to have correct employee pay slips and payroll going to the ATO for STP.
Great. And look, one more question for you. I suppose, look, I mentioned before, look, there'll be many viewers out there who are doing possibly one or all of these. Some maybe haven't gotten involved in cloud payroll just yet and are looking at the best solutions. For those out there who maybe haven't gotten involved with cloud payroll software yet, or maybe only have one of those product lines, what would you say to them? How would you provide your advice and tips to those thinking about exploring this territory further?
Honestly, payroll was not my forte before QuickBooks Payroll. I hated payroll. Payroll days was just unbelievably crazy around here in the office, right? Now with QuickBooks Payroll, it's pretty simple. Once that setup's done correctly, you give the client the training. I offer support. Basically, when I set up a client, this is the tip I'm going to give you guys, and I always say this to my customers. I have what I call an employee pack. In that employee pack, we have the new employee details form. I have a superannuation choice form. I have the tax declaration form, and also the Fair Work statement that needs to go out. If I don't have the first three forms back, I will not start the payroll setup. Otherwise, it's wasting my time. When I say that to the client, it's wasting my time and I'll be wasting your money, they go, right, I'll get everything back straight away for you, Loretta. So that's my biggest tip. Have everything ready to go, because honestly, and this is me being very honest, it takes me not even 15 minutes to do a setup of a business file. Honestly, not 15 minutes. And employee setup doesn't even take me 5 minutes. As long as I've got that sheet ready to go, the employee details sheet ready to go, doesn't even take me 5 minutes. So you can see how quick and easy it's going to become. At the end of the day, we also have the support for QuickBooks Payroll. Just ring up support. They're fantastic. I've had to use them a week ago for one of my clients. They answered it straight away. And then honestly, don't forget, payroll software. This payroll that I'm using now is one of the easiest and user-friendly software that I've actually used. And I won't go back and use any other payroll software. That's me being honest.
Great to know. I think it's also worth noting, you mentioned about the support, and obviously I've told the viewers that we do have a phone support. Fantastic, very knowledgeable individuals like Nelson on the call, which you'll hear from in a moment, who are there you can get on the phone and talk to them. And there's individuals you can chat to through the chat sort of option. I've also been privy to seeing groups like the Facebook Advisor Group, where someone's got a problem within the community and they ask a question, and within minutes, hours, there are just an abundance of responses from other accountants and bookkeepers who are putting forward recommendations. So I think one other thing I'd pass on to those who are maybe hesitant about getting onto payroll and STP is that there is fantastic support out there, whether it's from companies like us or whether the accountant and bookkeeping community. Everyone's very open to helping you navigate any problems you might have, because I think certainly when it comes to payroll, everyone's very aware that it's a very, you need solutions quickly. As I mentioned, people can't wait to get paid. They've got their lives to live. So I think we'll maybe end on that. Thanks, Loretta, for that great Q&A. Great to hear how your firm's been doing it and how you're making great revenue for your practice.
Thanks, David.
Okay, I think now we're going to be passing it on to Nelson. Nelson, as Grant mentioned, does great work in our customer success team, helping people with delivery, getting there into payroll and answering questions. He's going to take you through a bit of an update on STP2. So I'll hand over to Nelson.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nelson from the customer success team at Intuit. Today, I'm here to take you through a recap of STP Phase 2. Just grabbing my notes up. Hang on 1 minute. Thank you. So my role as an assisted delivery expert is to make sure that you're connected to a human expert when you need help with using QuickBooks Online, and this includes QuickBooks Payroll. In my previous life, I was a tax accountant with a passion for payroll processing, and having payroll as part of my service offering helped my firms and my clients grow. STP has been the biggest tax reform since GST, and we've made it so simple for you to move from STP 1.0 to STP Phase 2. It's important to note that while QuickBooks Payroll was ready and compliant for STP Phase 2 at the start of the year, there are other providers who have secured a deferral until 2023. So what this means is there's advisors and small business owners out there who are looking for options to stay compliant with STP Phase 2 and weighing up their options. I've also included some resources for advisors, and we will be sending these out to you via email. So don't worry if you don't get a chance to take any notes down. What makes us different? So I've bucketed these down into three main areas, and rest in peace with double handling. When payroll and the ledger are connected together, the journals flow across automatically. So what this means is if you make an update in payroll, your journals will automatically update in QBO. This means that you can then prepare your BAS. So with your W1 and W2 fields, they automatically appear for your BAS lodgements. As Dave mentioned earlier on before as well, you can make super payments via Beam, so there's no need to re-enter employee contributions, saving you time. Having payroll in one system removes the double handling. We're also utterly compliance obsessed. So we launched STP Phase 2 on the 28th of February 2022 fully. So if you want to check out the full details of STP Phase 2, get onto QuickBooks Payroll. We've also got the pre-built modern award interpretation, so you can keep up to date with the most recent releases of the modern awards. You can also link your awards, rostering, and time and attendance on the advanced payroll package. And my favorite bit is my team is a good day away. So if you ever do need us, feel free to pick up the phone, start a chat with a human expert. We can also jump on a smart look session to view your screen and take you through your specific file itself. And there's no need to download extra programs for the screen sharing session. So on to the recap of STP Phase 2. So the biggest thing that will impact most businesses is the disaggregation of income. And what this means is you'll need to review and update your categories as required. Instead of reporting a single gross amount, you'll need to report gross, paid leave, allowances, overtime, bonuses and commissions, director fees, lump sum W, and salary sacrifice amounts separately. You can review and update the payroll settings to make sure that it's disaggregated and reporting using the right codes. And there's 4 main areas you can check. So make sure that you're checking the pay categories, the leave categories, the deduction categories, and make sure that the employee tax file details are up to date. The system-generated default categories will automatically be assigned to the relevant STP Phase 2 category, and it's really easy to identify which categories may need a review. I've prepared this quick slide for you to help find out if it has been categorized or not. So as you can see, the STP Phase 2 category can be easily identifiable by the grey text next to the pay category. In my example, you can see pay category director fees with the grey director fees next to it. This means that the pay category has been classified to STP Phase 2 categories. Whereas director salary and Monday to Friday casual categories don't have a grey text next to it. And this means it requires a review. This is a simple way of identifying what needs to be checked and reviewed. Sorry, moving on to my slides there. There we go. Okay, so disaggregation of income will impact most businesses. However, there are less common new features released for STP Phase 2. It's good to know it won't impact most businesses, and you may have specific clients who need these features. So income stream collection is a new term from the ATO and is focused on reporting the payment types and country codes for specific income types. Regarding the country codes, this applies to working holiday makers or employees who are employed by an Australian business but reside outside of Australia. Income stream collection also impacts closely held employees, foreign employees, inbound assignees to Australia, and labour hire employees. Your tax file number declarations will now be covered in STP Phase 2 lodgements. What this means is the first pay event that you file with a new employee will include the details required. You can still upload a copy of the completed tax file number declaration form to the Employees Documents tab for record keeping, but you no longer need to send these to the ATO via PayPal. Lump sum e-letters will no longer be required to be sent to employees. Lump sum e isn't a common thing that comes up, but it's a nice small win to reduce your payroll workload. Paid leave. In STP 1.0, income items were aggregated or lumped into one total item called gross income, paid to the employee. In STP Phase 2 release, you'll need to start reporting the disaggregation of employees' income. For example, if an employee takes leave, it was previously reported in gross income value. Under STP 2.0, leave payments will no longer form part of gross income, and it will need to be reported as a separate value. This one's a nice win. Under STP Phase 2, you can now file negative year-to-date values by STP. And when an employee leaves the business, you can now select the reason for the employment ending. This means that you no longer need to supply an employment separation certificate to Services Australia. STP Phase 2 has been designed to streamline the reporting process, particularly across different government agencies such as Services Australia. To help you get onto STP Phase 2 and to make sure that you've checked everything off, we've created an STP Phase 2 readiness checklist to help you make sure that you've checked everything off. To access the checklist, you can visit our website and the checklist will be within the STP Phase 2 hub. Moving on to the resources, we've also got the hub which is available today, which will go through all the steps that you need to check and update. You can access this right now on our QuickBooks website. As mentioned before, if you have clients who were ready for STP Phase 2 and have been using a compliance solution such as QuickBooks Payroll for many months now, given that many other providers have secured a deferral until 2023, there are going to be a lot of small businesses and advisors out there who are looking at their payroll solutions and weighing up their options. If you do have any clients out there who are using other solutions and have concerns about being compliant, get them onto QuickBooks Payroll and have a play around. There's plenty of guidance on our website. And of course, you can speak to one of our team members by phoning us or having a chat. You can speak to an Australian-based advisor, customer support team member when you need it. As always, if you do have more questions on anything payroll, please don't hesitate to contact your partner manager or call the team on 1800 618 521. And we'll have more information to you via email after the webinar. Thanks for joining me on the payroll updates today. That's all from me. I'm going to hand it back to Grant.
Thanks, Nelson. Thanks, David. Thanks, Loretta, for all of that. Just quickly before we get into a bit of Q&A, all of those benefits that David spoke about with QuickBooks Payroll powered by KeyPay, those are all available to you to pay your team members in your firm. All of those time-saving features, all of those compliance features in the QuickBooks Pro Advisor program for free. Now, when you sign up for QuickBooks Online Accountant, that's actually free to join. You automatically get access to the Pro Advisor program tools, training, and benefits. And that includes free access to QuickBooks Tax, powered by Lodgit, QuickBooks Payroll to pay your team. So literally all of the benefits of our advanced payroll product that David covered today are yours free to pay your team, along with a whole range of other exclusive discounts and a whole lot more. Now, for those who are new to the QuickBooks suite, QuickBooks Online Accountant is designed to help you run your practice, track your jobs, allocate tasks to your team members. If you have team members, record where you spend your time, send out your invoices, get your team paid, and even manage your own firm's books. Now, you can find out more about joining the program and accessing all of those benefits at the address that's on your screen there. That's intuit.me/pro-perks. We will send you an email following the webinar with all of the details about what Nelson spoke about, as well as about the Pro Advisor program. So watch out for that in your inbox. Okay, we're going to get into some Q&A now. And I'll welcome back onto the webinar David, Loretta, and Nelson, and we'll get into some questions very quickly. Thanks, team, for joining back on the call. Let me just bring up some of the questions we had. First, I'll kick off with the general question about STP. And Loretta and Nelson, Loretta, I'll start with you. But what's been the general feeling around STP Phase 2 with the small business clients that you've spoken to? And are they still struggling with it? Are they still seeing any common issues?
Yeah, look, excuse me. My business clients, my bookkeeping clients that I look after, they know that I'm on top of everything because they do have me as their trusted advisor. So I make sure everything's across the board. And I actually use MailChimp for my marketing newsletter. So when I do send out any information, I use MailChimp and it just goes out to everyone. It's the clients that I see coming through from when I do the rescue work. There's still some of those clients, business owners that aren't aware of STP, little STP too. So it's getting them informed. So if you do have any clients that come through to you, great opportunity, guys, pick them up and, give them QuickBooks and QuickBooks, QB Payroll as well. They're the only things I've really seen, Grant. It's the non-knowledge. And again, it's that they don't know what they don't know.
Great, thanks, Loretta. Nelson, I guess you're dealing with both advisors and small business clients pretty regularly. Same question to you. Are you seeing any kind of common issues, or what's the general feel out there?
Yeah, so I might start off with advisors. So I think the most common trend with advisors that I hear and see is, am I getting it right? So have I checked off everything that I need to for STP Phase 2? Have I covered all the definitions? Now, the good thing with QuickBooks Payroll is most of the automated system default categories have been updated. So that makes your job easier as advisors. And there's only the ones with the custom categories that you've created for your business or your client's business that you need to check. In terms of small business owners, I'm also hearing as well, similar to what Loretta said, they don't really understand what STP Phase 2 is, but we've got some incredible resources that really simplify what it is, such as a checklist that we've recently created.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nelson. We had a question from Nicole. We've kind of covered it in today's webinar, but just to kind of reiterate, Nelson, STP Phase 2 compliance in QuickBooks Payroll, when is that going to be ready?
Yes, it's all completed. So we launched that on the 28th of February, 2022. So all the features for STP Phase 2 is ready for you to use. Feel free to take a look at the checklist. You'll be surprised at how simple it is with STP Phase 2. I think coming onto STP Phase 1 was the most difficult bit, and Phase 2 is a breeze.
Brilliant, thanks. Loretta, one for you, kind of looking at super. Is there a way where the super details can be pre-filled when lodging super via the Australian Super Portal as the details are being collected by the ATO with the use of STP within QuickBooks?
Sorry. So just to confirm this, someone's wanting to lodge their super outside of QuickBooks. Is that correct?
It sounds like they're lodging via the Australian Super Portal where the details are being collected.
Super Portal? Or? Yeah, well, yeah. You can actually download, I think it's a CSV file. Nelson, you can correct me there. It's a CSV file that you can download and then upload into whatever software provider or clearinghouse you're using. So if it's Australian Super and all the other different industries, you can actually upload it into the superannuation fund. Yeah.
Yeah, with the clearinghouses, particularly if it's outside of QuickBooks Payroll, there usually is an upload and download function that you can use. But I'd say get onto the Beam integration because that saves you a lot of time. There's no need to muck around with your Excel CSVs to upload and download. With a couple of clicks, you've paid super, including the payment as well.
Yeah, agree with that. And true story, it actually saved my client an hour of her time by doing it directly out of QuickBooks instead of having to, download, upload, then she gets something wrong, then the internet was down and so forth. So it does save you a lot of time. So I have all of mine going out as a direct debit, by the way. So I just do a couple of clicks and it's done. That way I know they pay their super as well.
We did have a follow-up question on Beam from Magdalena, and it may not be something that Nelson or Loretta that you know, but it was about Beam requiring a nominated employer super fund, and if that can be made optional. I'm not sure if you know that.
Yeah, it's when you set up the Beam, they actually ask you for what is your nominated super account. That's in your super choice form as well, though. So when you hand over that super choice form to your employee, it actually says what is the employer's nominated fund. Now, I normally just ask the client, is CBUS okay, or is Australian Super okay? And I just put that in. It doesn't affect anything because it'll just go through when you're paying super through Beam Clearinghouse collected, and it just goes out to all the different super houses. So it's not going to affect, as far as I'm aware of, Nelson. You can confirm that it doesn't really affect what nominated super fund you add into that section when you're setting up your super Beam.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. The default super fund is for the likes of new employees who recently joined the workforce who may need a super fund. So most businesses will have their default super fund that you can create on behalf of employees. But that doesn't necessarily impact how you pay your super if they've got a choice for another fund.
Yeah.
Great, thanks both. Nelson, I think one for you. How do you record salary sacrifice on QuickBooks Payroll?
Salary sacrifice, yes. It's a common thing in practice and for a lot of businesses. In QuickBooks Payroll, make sure that you do have your deduction category set up, particularly with the STP Phase 2 category of salary sacrifice. Once you've got that set up, you can then use that into your pay run and make any deductions. You may need to gross up the income side with the new rules. But if it's just a straight deduction, you can add in the deduction category in the payslip, and that's how you record salary sacrifice.
And I can confirm it's really easy to do. You just choose the salary sacrifice deduction, and then when you pay the super, when you go to pay your superannuation, it actually comes up and it says, it might be Australian Super, then it has the actual salary sacrifice to Australian Super as well. So therefore you can reconcile your balance sheets as well.
Amazing, thanks both. We are a little bit over time, so I'll just check. We've got a couple of other questions, so I do apologise if we haven't had a chance to get to yours. I'll close out with a comment from Emma, who said, as an accountant who doesn't offer payroll, you've clearly given me some food for thought today, and I hope that's true for everyone. I'd just like to thank everyone for coming along today. Loretta, David, Nelson, thanks so much for your time in presenting and preparing. To everyone on the webinar today as well, thank you so much for joining us. As I say, we will have a copy of the recording out to you along with all the resources that we've mentioned today, as well as links to the Growth Hub. And on that Growth Hub, you'll find the ebook that Dave talked about that has a lot more detail about everything that he's covered on adding payroll as a profit centre to your firm, as well as a host of other resources, case studies, tools, tips, guides on marketing, growing your firm, and adding payroll as a profit centre. So thank you again for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed today's Pro Power Hour, and we'll see you for the next one next month. Thank you.